The meditation today is about the phenomenology of personal identity. I'm not making any ontological claim of any sort. This is just to get a feel for how different beliefs or internal models or orientations about the self and its boundaries, how does that feel? I think it's a very important topic for the sort of work that we're going to be doing because how do you know that something is ego dissolving if you don't have like a feel for what this ego is that we're talking about? And right before we get there, I'm just going to do a quick kind of like grounding exercise, which is a couple of attentional moves for us to get grounded in the space. And feel comfortable wherever you are. Do any final micro adjustments, posture or energy or orientation in order to settle in comfortably. So one model we will keep coming back to because I think is very helpful is Shenzhen Young's factorization of experience into 3 channels with an inner and outer component. So I find it very helpful to start meditation sessions by paying attention very carefully to each of these channels one at a time to tune in into the weather of our consciousness. So we start out with outer hear, the sounds of your environment. Just notice them, pay attention to them. What do they feel like? Pay attention to that whole region of your consciousness that is sensitive to outer sounds. That surface area. Now we shift our focus inner hear or inner sound. It is this almost quasi-auditory phenomena like inner monologue, for example. Your private sound field, so to speak, that only you can hear. Now we shift our focus and attention to outer see. You can do this with eyes open or eyes closed, it doesn't matter. Just pay attention to your visual field. The visual field that senses external objects. The whole field. Notice and attune to it. Now we're going to go to inner seeing. So with your eyes closed, focus on your mind's eye, this quasi-visual phenomena that is entirely yours, private. How does it feel like? Where is it? Notice the patterns of tension that you need to hold in order to focus your attention on your mind's eye. What kind of movement are you doing to pay attention to your mind's eye? Feel into it. If I say, imagine a basketball, where is that sensation? How does that feel like? What are you doing to make it happen? Now we shift our focus to outer feel, the tactile world, the feeling in your skin or of your body pressing on the cushion, on your body posture. See if you can get an impression of all of your tactile feelings at once, a snapshot of it. Then finally, we shift our focus to inner feel, the emotional world. The movement of energies inside you and their flow. What is your mood? What is the texture of your feeling? Now we will go in quick succession 3 times through these 6 channels. So first, outer here, inner here, outer seeing, inner seeing, outer feel, inner feel. And now cycle through those 6 channels again silently on your own twice. Take your time. I find this kind of exercise or walkthrough very helpful to ground myself and get a sense of the surface area of my awareness, so to speak. So that then, if anything changes, you can quickly identify where the change is happening. How the weather report of your mind is changing. Now we're going to move towards phenomenology of personal identity. Again, I'm not going to make any ontological claim whatsoever. This is just noticing the textures of the world of experience. We start by asking the question, who are you? Or in first person, who am I? Ask that question sincerely. And notice what that feels like, the resonances that arise out of that question. Who am I really? Notice the way that question impacts any of these 6 channels of experience. How does it reflect on your feeling, on your vision, on your auditory sensations? Who am I really? The first sense to get acquainted with is the very commonsensical notion that you are an individual person. It might be helpful to, in your inner here, say your own name. And notice the resonances that that name causes, the sort of emotions it tunes into or stories it spins up. I am fill in the blank with your name. Notice the sense of embodiment that comes with your name, or any way in which it springs up a sense of connection or history, or location or time. I am fill in the blank. Relax into that feeling, to that inner sense of knowing who you are as a person. This is the sense of the same sense of you being you over years of your life. But this feeling has its limits, because if you start questioning it, you notice it doesn't quite work all the time. For example, ask the very classic question of, Who were you before you were born? Or who are you after you die? Nor is the feeling of paradox, the strangeness of asking those questions, if you assume a sense of personhood as your true identity. So this is closed individualism, this feeling of being the same person one day after another. Your name is identifying a soul, an enduring metaphysical being, separate from everybody else, but the same day after day. Tune into that. Now we're going to shift to a very, very different way of seeing identity. This is called empty individualism. You are just the present moment, a snapshot of experience. The continuity of the self is an illusion, a fabrication. To evoke a very strong feeling of empty individualism, you can think about how atoms get replaced all the time in your body. How molecules are jiggling around and changing positions all the time. There's nothing fixed about you. It's all in flux. And if you're a pattern, you can only exist for a blip, a snapshot of experience. Taking this view all the way can be very mind-altering. Like a dog trying to catch its own tail. You're saying, I am now, now, now. The now is the only real. I am now. You only exist for a moment. And you're not a person. You're a moment of experience. It's a very radical change in the way of seeing for who you are. Now we shift towards a fuzzy sense of identity. If you think of identity as some kind of social construct or playing a role. Notice how we all play many different roles all throughout the day. We are not a fixed personality. And how you are somebody else whenever you're with your daughter, with your mom, with your teacher, with a priest. Your identity is constantly in flux, and it's socially constructed to an extent. Tune into that feeling, this feeling of flux of identity. Has fuzzy boundaries. Unlike empty individualism, where you're just a clear, crisp snapshot, or closed, where you're a person over time, in this fuzzy sense, you're smeared over space and time and smeared over relationships, fuzzily dispersed across the world, diffuse, cloudy. And now we're going to tune into open individualism. The feeling that we are all one consciousness. Again, I'm not making any ontological assertion. I just want you to explore what it feels like to believe and to embody a sense that we are all one at the deepest of levels. There are many ways to spark and cultivate that feeling. From noticing how we're all made of water to a large extent. We're made of the same kinds of atoms. Maybe at the deepest level, we're all made of the fields of physics or whatever that may be ultimately. We're all interconnected. And a product of our interactions. We're all the same universal field of consciousness. Just tune into what it feels like to believe that. How does this impact your sensory channels? Does it make the boundaries more fuzzy, more fluid? Or maybe sometimes makes them entirely disappear? Without claiming that oneness is the truth, you can still play with and work with and engage with the feeling of oneness, universal oneness. In that world, whenever two people talk, it's just God talking to itself. Notice the resonances or the vibrations that that kind of view cause in your field of experience. Many paths to this view. You can say, without any rigor, just intuitively, we are all the same energy that is just transformed from one shape to another. The energy of the universe as our true nature. Or you are space. You're space itself. You have always been space itself. All of space. Just an optical illusion that you're trapped in a person. That's just a kind of cusp or little loop that light makes in space. But actually, you're space itself. And now the final view is what we call the Goldilocks Zone of Oneness. It's a view that is one that recognizes the simultaneous truth in their own way of closed, empty, and open individualism. In this view, you acknowledge there's something very real about personhood. Something very real about being an embodied person over time. Characters exist. But also, each moment of experience has a different perspective on the whole thing. And so those exist as well. But it's all as well happening in a shared field of consciousness. So we're also all one at the same time. A sort of trinity of identity in harmony. A view that respects our individuality and values it, cherishes it, but also recognizes our interconnections, our shared nature. Now, to conclude, from this point of view, from this Goldilocks zone of oneness, let's just together in this very strange, paradoxical, blended sense of identity, send a sincere wish for the well-being of all beings. Loving kindness in this space takes a very peculiar form because it's love towards persons and beings, and love towards moments of experience, compassion for moments of experience. and love and compassion for the universe, for infinite consciousness. You don't have to choose one or the other. You can send love to all those three at once. May all persons, all characters, be happy and free from suffering. May all moments of experience be free from suffering, be happy. May the universe, may the field of consciousness be happy, be free from suffering. Tune into this holistic, wholesome feeling of love from the Goldilocks Zone of Oneness for a minute. Love on so many levels at once. And now, as the final thing, just want you to take a moment to compare how you feel now to how you felt at the beginning of the meditation. What is the weather report now after having gone through this exercise? Now, in your own time, feel free to start opening your eyes and gently come down from the meditation and get back into this room as a person.